I thought it would be fun to look at every defunct Formula One team since F1's first official World Championship in 1950. In total, there have been 172 F1 teams since the 1950 season, and with only 10 teams existing in Formula One today, here's every F1 team that is no longer around, starting with the 1950s. Oh, and one more thing before we start. There's one requirement to be in this video. The constructor or team has to successfully start at least one race. So if a constructor or team entered a race and either qualified but didn't start or didn't qualify, they will not be in this video. Let's get into it. The first team we're going to talk about is Scuderia Milano, or just Milano. Founded by brothers Arialdo and Emilio Ruggiero, Milano entered 6 races between 1950 and 1953 using the Maserati 4 CLT, Maserati A6 GCM, and the Milano 1. During Milano's time in F1, they achieved just 1 points finish in the 1950 Swiss Grand Prix, achieving 2 points, and after the 1953 Italian Grand Prix, were never seen in F1 again. It's unclear why Milano fully left F1, but it is speculated to be because of money problems and the failed development with their own Milano 1 car. Founded in 1936 by Antonio Lago, Talbot-Lago made touring and sporting cars before taking a crack at Formula One in 1950 and 1951. Talbot-Lago had 82 entrants among 13 races during its time in Formula One and achieved 25 points and 2 podiums, one at the 1950 Swiss Grand Prix and one at the 1950 Belgian Grand Prix. Talbot-Lago left F1 because of the 1952 rule change that made it so you couldn't race without the use of a 2-liter engine, which their T25C car didn't have, and the financial difficulties they endured to race in Formula One made it so they couldn't develop one to continue racing. The British sports and racing car manufacturer Alta entered a total of 5 races in Formula One between 1950 and 1952, starting with the 1950 British Grand Prix and ending with the 1952 British Grand Prix. They would end up DNFing 3 out of the 5 races they entered, only finishing the 1950 Belgian Grand Prix in 9th and the 1952 British Grand Prix in 12th. Alta left F1 because they lacked the funding to develop a successor to their GP design and would leave for Formula 2 the following year. Although Alta left F1 as a team, they would stay as an engine supplier, most notably for Connaught and Cooper, until disappearing for good in 1959. ERA, also known as English Racing Automobiles, took part in Formula One between 1950 and 1952, entering 7 total Grand Prix. ERA's best race was their first ever race in Formula One, the 1950 British Grand Prix, where they finished 6th and 7th with drivers Bob Gerard and Keith Harrison. And although they never scored a point in Formula One, they did have 16-time race winner and 4-time F1 Drivers' Championship runner-up Sterling Moss race for them for 3 races in 1952, all of which ended with engine failure. It was never explicitly said why ERA left F1, but it most likely had to do with a lack of development resources and the fact the company fully went into research and development engineering after the 1952 season. Veritas is a German manufacturer that competed in 6 races in Formula One from 1951 to 1953. They started with the 1951 Swiss Grand Prix and ended with the 1953 German Grand Prix. Veritas never got a point in F1 with the highest finish of 7th place in the 1951 German Grand Prix. They also only totaled 155 laps among 18 entries. Veritas left F1 after they went bankrupt following some failed business ventures to generate money and had to sell their assets to BMW in 1953. O.S.C.A. took part in Formula One from 1951 to 1953 and then again in 1958. They entered 6 races, managing to DNF in half, all of which by French driver Elie Béol. O.S.C.A.'s highest finish was 9th in the 1951 Italian Grand Prix, where Franco Roll started 18th, and they tried to make a comeback in the 1958 Monaco Grand Prix, but ended up not qualifying for the race. O.S.C.A. wanted to focus on racing in smaller racing classes, specifically the 1100cc class, and along with financial struggles, decided to leave Formula One. Hersham and Walter Motors took part in 16 races and over 1,500 laps during their time in F1 from 1951 to 1954. HWM's highest finish was fifth place, which was achieved by Paul Frère in his first ever race, the 1952 Belgian Grand Prix. Not to bring up Stirling Moss again, but Moss raced in HWM's first ever race, the 1951 Swiss Grand Prix, and finished 8th, and would also race for HWM in the 1952 Swiss Grand Prix, qualifying 9th before withdrawing from the race and joining previously mentioned ERA. HWM left F1 because they were severely outclassed by their other competitors, and their only race in 1954 had British driver Lance Macklin qualifying 23 seconds behind pole-sitter Juan Manuel Fangio, DNFing after not making it at a last place, and Hersham Walter Motors never came back to Formula One. Aston Butterworth was founded in 1952 and entered 4 F1 races the same year. Aston Butterworth's first race was the 1952 Belgian Grand Prix, where British driver Robin Montgomery Charrington DNF'd, and the following 3 races, the 1952 British, German, and Italian Grand Prix, founder Bill Aston took the wheel and ended up DNSing, DNFing, and DNQing. Overall, the team never finished a race, and after the 1954 regulations were announced, this team stopped participating. Frazer-Nash participated in 4 Formula One races, all of which were in the 1952 Formula One season. Frazer-Nash participated in the 1952 Swiss, Belgian, British, and Dutch Grand Prix and achieved a 21st place in the British Grand Prix, 2 DNFs in the Belgian Grand Prix and Dutch Grand Prix, and an amazing 4th place in their first ever race, the Swiss Grand Prix. This was also British drivers Ken Wharton's first ever race in Formula One, and even though Frazer-Nash showed promise, they still pulled out of F1 because of reliability issues. Alex von Falkenhausen Motorbau, or AFM, participated in 4 total races in the 1952 and 53 seasons, with the first being the 1952 Swiss Grand Prix, then the 52 German GP, 1953 German GP, and lastly, the 53 Italian GP. In 9 total entries, they never scored any points in Formula One and had just 2 race finishes, 9th in the 52 German GP and 14th in the 53 Italian GP. AFM left F1 because after the 1953 season, Formula One went back to the regular F1 regulations after using the F2 regulations for the 1952 and 53 seasons. French manufacturer Gordini was founded in 1946 and has been a division of Renault Sports Technologies since 1968. But from 1952 to 56, Gordini took part in 33 Grand Prix, starting with the 52 Swiss Grand Prix and ending with the 56 Italian Grand Prix. In its 5 years in F1, Gordini scored 10 points finishes for 25.16 points, including 2 podiums, both third places, and both in 1952. They also had 1 fastest lap, 61 DNFs, 1 disqualification, and 1 DNS. Gordini never had manufacturing support from anyone, which led to Gordini to make their own cars and engines. Combine that with key drivers leaving and dwindling finances, Gordini had no other option but to drop out of Formula One. UK-based team Connaught made 17 race starts in Formula One between 1952 and 1959. They achieved 17 points during their time in F1, including 1 podium in the 1956 Italian Grand Prix, where they finished in 3rd place. The team's most known drivers are the aforementioned Stirling Moss, who made an appearance for the team in the 52 Italian GP and the 53 Dutch GP, along with former CEO of F1, Bernie Ecclestone, who attempted to drive in the 58 Monaco Grand Prix, but ended up not qualifying for the race. Connaught's downfall would be financial related, with key financial backer Kenneth McAlp's not being able to keep up with the increasing costs to help run the team, and Connaught's last F1 race was the 1956 US GP, where American driver Bob Saad got into an accident on the first lap and DNF'd. EMW was a car manufacturer in post-World War II Soviet-controlled East Germany and entered just 1 race in Formula One, the 1953 German Grand Prix, with German driver Edgar Barth. BMW ended up retiring the car just 12 laps into the race due to exhaust problems and quickly disappeared from Formula One after their automobile division underwent significant changes, which discontinued the brand in 1955. Founded in the early 1950s by Hans Klenk, Klenk entered the 1954 German Grand Prix with the Klenk Meteor, which was based on some of the Veritas Formula 2 models from earlier on this list. During the German GP, the Klenk Meteor only lasted 8 laps due to engine failure from their BMW 328 six-cylinder engine, and Klenk would never enter another Grand Prix, mostly due to a lack of resources and lack of overall car development. Scuderia Lancia, or just Lancia, took part in 4 Grand Prix between 1954 and 1955. In just 4 races and 11 total entries, Lancia achieved 9 points between a fastest lap in the 1954 Spanish Grand Prix and a 2nd and 5th place finish in the 1955 Monaco Grand Prix. At the start of the 1955 season, Lancia had planned to keep competing in Formula One in 1956 and beyond, despite the financial struggles due to the advanced development of their D50 car, but the death of star driver Albert Ascari during a testing session with Ferrari in May 1955 ended all competitive hope the team had, and Lancia dropped out of F1 following the 1955 Italian Grand Prix. Bugatti pre-World War II and the F1 Championship era was a powerhouse with the Type 35, but during the F1 Championship era from 1950 and beyond, Bugatti only entered one race, the 1956 French Grand Prix, where they ended up DNFing after 18 laps due to technical problems. So, how did a manufacturer with so much history and success pre-World War II suddenly disappear so quickly after its dominance? Well, Bugatti's founder, Ettore Bugatti, died in 1947, and with no successor to the brand, the technical and financial struggles piled up year after year, causing them to leave F1 after 1956, and the company would die for the first time in 1963. Founded by Valerio Collati, the American manufacturer Tec-Mec, or Studio Tecnica Meccanica, entered just one Grand Prix in its short time in Formula One, the 1959 USA Grand Prix, where Brazilian driver Fritz de Ore only lasted 6 laps before an oil leak ended their race. Before the end of the 1959 season, Collati sold the Tec-Mec design studio and shifted its focus to make Formula Junior cars, ending Tec-Mec's time in Formula One, and they were never seen again. The 1950s in Formula One was a challenging era where only well-funded and innovative teams thrived. Many smaller teams struggled with outdated cars, financial pressures, rapidly changing regulations, and the dominance of giants like Ferrari and Mercedes made it tough for newcomers to succeed. Plus, tragic accidents and the loss of key drivers often ended promising teams like Lancia. But despite these challenges, every team, whether they entered 1 or 33 races, still contributed to the rich history of Formula One. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to like and subscribe. I'm Alex Motorsports, and thank you for watching.